Hello. Yes, I'm back in Prescot, and I'm basically on a place where I grew up, on Kemble Street here, the old Bath Springs there, and this place, garage, was 105 Kemble Street, my old house, where I spent my childhood from about 1960 to 1973 till it was knocked down. It was also known as Dr. Sarmby's surgery, for those who may remember it. There, yeah, nice big house, and it was actually knocked down to expand that garage, by the way. It looks a bit of an eyesore now. Anyway, I'm here. I'm exploring the origins of Tudor Prescot. Now, in the 1500s, when Shakespeare came to Prescot, this was known as Copt Halt Lane. It was a lane, a country lane. That's all it was. And all these things around here were fields, country fields. You wouldn't think that now, would you? It looks very built up. But the population of Prescot at that time was only about 300, at the most 400 people in the township of Prescot. And yet Prescot could boast over 40 alehouses. Yeah, I don't know if the Bath Springs probably wasn't there, but there were over 40 alehouses in Prescot. And a gleaming new theatre. It had a theatre of 300 people. Everyone must have been drunk and going to the theatre. Well, it must have been a wealthy town to have that many alehouses and a theatre. The only theatre outside of London. An interesting thing about Prescot is that the way it made money, it was a rural economy. The economy was based around farming. Shakespeare's own family were farmers, and most people who worked around Prescot were farmers. Prescot was part of a massive parish. The parish of Prescot encompassed over 58 miles of farmland, over 15 townships, from the north, which was Rainford, the south, which was Widnes, and the east, which was Great Sankey. On the western edge was Prescot, this town, and the mother church was Prescot Church round the marketplace. That parish had a way of making money, and that was through the tithes. It collected tithes, and it collected them in a way that would happen all over Europe. These tithes, or tithe barns, would all the tenant farmers would have to give 10% of their crops, and these could be wheat, grains, fruit, vegetables. 10% of whatever they grew had to go into a tithe barn. These tithe barns were built all around the parish, so it became a rich township. And so all this money was being created through the parish of Prescot, one of the largest parishes in this part of the country. So it became rich, and that's why these tithe barns were so important. So what I decided to do is I decided to visit a tithe barn. To give you more of an idea of how tithe barns worked, I went to a tithe barn that has particular connections to William Shakespeare, and that was in Warwickshire. So I made a little film about that, and so you can see that film now. Hi, I'm here at Middle Littleton Tithe Barn. In Tudor times, Prescot was very much a rural enclave, surrounded by farmland and stuff like that. And there's no doubt that Prescot would have had a tithe barn. A tithe barn is basically a place where the lord of the manor, perhaps Lord Derby, would collect taxes from tenant farmers, and he would take 10% of the harvest, and they would be stored in a great barn like this. I'm going to have a look in the barn shortly. The reason I've come here is this is in Evesham in Warwickshire, and it's not too far from Stratford. But it's a place where actually the Shakespeare family, and William Shakespeare in particular, had shares in. So he would buy shares in this tithe barn, and he would collect revenue from them shares, because the crops would be sold on, and they would make money from it. So that was a way for William Shakespeare to make money. He was not only a great playwright, but he was also a businessman as well. This tithe barn was built in the 1200s, and it's been here much longer than William Shakespeare's been here, and it's currently held by the National Trust. If you want to visit here, by the way, you can come. It's open till 5 o'clock. It's open from 9 till 5 every day, and it's free to get in and to park. It's a bit out the way, so you have to seek it out, but you'll find it on the National Trust website. So let's have a look and see what we can see. Church bells. Okay, let's have a look inside the tithe barn. You may have heard of tithe barns before, because there are some street names called tithe barns. You can see it's pretty old. Massive space. If you could imagine this space, pigeons flying. If you could imagine this place filled to the rafters with grain, and it would be 10% of the harvest that farmers would have to give over to the lord of the manor as part of the rent for having a farm. It's a cathedral-like space, absolutely incredible. But look at them beams. That almost reminds me of Prescot Parish Church, and the way the beams are arranged at the top there. I think this is fantastic. Lovely place, and there must have been one, maybe not on this scale, but perhaps so, in the parish of Prescot, which was bigger than Liverpool. The parish of Prescot was a massive area, covered a massive area, and covered a lot of farms. So somewhere in the parish of Prescot must have been a giant tithe barn just like this. It's a great insight to medieval life, and was obviously it has a link to Shakespeare as well. It's great to have that Shakespearean link. Yeah. Some information on the tithe barn here. Beautiful building, and great to see it still here after all these years. Oh, what do you think of the tithe barn, Kath?
Oh, it's interesting. There's still quite a few pigeons roosting here.
Yeah, I noticed, yeah.
So this is where they collect all the taxes on the produce,
Yeah.
isn't it, from the local farmers and stuff?
It would be 10% of the crop. So they would have to give over 10% of the crop
their crop
to
yeah.
the lord of the manor. And that would act as a rent
Yeah.
on the land
Yes, that they were farming.
that they were farming. And they would basically pay their rent annually, and it would be stored in a nice dry barn like this.
Yeah. Because obviously they wouldn't have access to storage for their own
No.
as big as this, would they? So
So this was a communal,
it was a communal
and,
holding
and
area.
rich people, for instance, like William Shakespeare, who had shares in the Tithe Barn, he would buy over shares that would pay for the upkeep of the barn and
Keep it
the
maintained.
management of the barn.
Keep it dry. Yeah.
And in return, he would receive a dividend on what was sold over the year, because it would be right up to the rafters, full of food stuff
Oh my God.
and perhaps hay for cattle, stuff like that. It would
'Cause
be
it's a-
right up to the
It's a
rafters.
huge space. I've never seen one as big as this.
It looks like a cathedral space, isn't it? It's built by,
Abbot John Omblesby.
and what
in
year?
1376.
1376. This was,
That's amazing, isn't it?
yeah. Again, it's off the beaten track, isn't it? Kat?
You have to really seek it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an unusual. I mean, look at those beams.
I know, they're incredible, aren't they?
Tell you what, I bet the National Trust have to check for woodworm in them.
I know, they'd have to check it often, wouldn't they?
Could you imagine that? Imagine that getting full of woodworm.
But look at that. That's like a Tudor cathedral, isn't it?
It is.
That roof.
You've seen Tudor churches built in a
Yeah.
similar fashion.
Yeah. And you see these holes in the side here? Them holes in the side? They were scaffolding holes to put planks of wood through.
When they were building.
Also to maintain the ceiling.
Yeah.
And they'd leave them in there and they'd just slot in bits of wood and then build,
build up
a wooden
with-
scaffold.
to maintain.
And that's why it's all the way around.
Yeah.
You can go right up to the top building that scaffold. So that was like a medieval scaffolding device, and they'd leave them open. Old, what looks like a Tudor ladder. So let's have a look around the outside. You can see here there's the Church of Little Middleton there, and pigeons love it. Get them everywhere. And massive doors for carts and horses, and some outbuildings as well around the Tithe Barn. Yeah, no doubt Shakespeare would have been here as a shareholder and assessed his holdings at some time. No doubt about that. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that little look around Little Middleton Tithe Barn, and hope it gives you some kind of insight into Tudor life in Prescot. Like we said, we've got no photos to show what Tudor Prescot looked like or how it appeared to be. There are some excavations to say that there are things there that we're just discovering. We're discovering stuff all the time, but by visiting these places you do get a feel for how it must have been for the Tudors in Prescot. A fascinating insight, and it's the next best thing to having the buildings there. because these were endemic all around the country, these things. So yeah, thanks for watching. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little film about the Tithe Barn, Middle Littleton Tithe Barn in Warwickshire. It's interesting, isn't it? Before the Industrial Revolution and stuff like that, we all used to live like that. That's our taxation. And before you had the global economy, you had tithes, and tithes were 1/10 of the profits of a farmer. That's how they made it work. It was a rural agricultural economy, and that's how the Tudor Prescot operated. It was basically a small town, a small village, surrounded by fields and agricultural land, and that is getting to the roots of what Prescot was really like. So I hope you found it interesting. If you have, then give us a like, give us a thumbs up, make a comment if you like. You can do. I'm going to be making a vlog on my own home here on Kemble Street in the future. I'll be making a video on that sometime in the future, but for now, I hope you tune into the next of my Tudor quest to find Tudor Prescot, and links to William Shakespeare. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye for now. Bye. Beautiful church. I'll just take you for a little walk round. And were made by John Rigby of Wigan. Yes. He was a bit talented, wasn't he?